Hello and welcome to Vermont Treasures. Today I am here at CATV, which is where I produce my show, Vermont Treasures, and our guest is CATV
Executive Director.
Executive Director Kevin Christopher. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be on public access.
Yeah, I know. Do you do that very often?
Government access more than anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
So I've been running Vermont Treasures. We are going on our 6th year. I think started in October. Show 77. And I haven't recently, I guess I've been hearing quite a bit lately about changes that may be coming to all lake access stations, at least in Vermont.
Across the country.
Across the country. And I was hoping today that you might start, can you give me a brief history about exactly what allows me to produce, write, create my own show?
Sure. Yes, and I'll try to keep it brief. It all goes back broadly to the Cable Act of 1984, and that's sort of what codified what we call PEG access, Public Education and Government Access Television. And what that basically says is that when a cable operator comes to your town, they're going to be using public rights of way to do their business. They're going to be stringing their lines across our utility poles, underground on our public rights of way. These are resources that the public owns. So in order for them to do that and to make money and to sometimes have a virtual monopoly in that community, they have to give some things back to the community. And one of those things is to provide an avenue for access TV to exist. So in Vermont, we have a structure in which the cable operator signs a contract with the state, with the Public Utility Commission in particular, and that kind of lays the groundwork and spells out the particulars. And the cable operator has one of two choices. They can provide the public access services themselves, or they can contract with a nonprofit to do it. In Vermont's case, it's always a nonprofit. And then they have to fund it. There's a federal statute that allows them to pass that funding on to subscribers, which, as far as I know, all cable operators do. So we're actually getting dollars directly from subscribers. It's on the bill as a PEG fee, and that comes to us to fund what we do.
Okay.
So those are the basics. There's it's a little more complicated.
Pretty in depth, absolutely.
And it's different from state to state. In a lot of states, what happens is what we call the franchising authority, which could be a town or the state itself, will receive those funds from the cable operator or subscribers, and they'll use some of those funds to support Access TV, and other of those funds might go to the general fund, to paving, to buying a new fire truck. But we're fortunate in Vermont in that we have a state that has historically supported what we do, and we get all those funds to be able to provide our services.
Right. Yeah. And so what I see as some of the services, so you get the cameras, that so I come in off the street and I live in LCATV's or I work in your area.
Live, work, or attend school.
Attend school. So I work in Colchester, so I've been able to, like I said, for 6 years now, come in, borrow a camera. Once I take the access class, I borrow a camera, I can go create my own show.
Yep.
Mine's a pretty easygoing show, but you can talk difficult topics. You can talk fun topics. Right. You can do pretty much whatever you want.
Yeah, there are very, very few restrictions. Yeah.
So you fill out paperwork. You get the new cameras. You get a beautiful studio from these funds. So just trying to give people, and it pays to have people here helping me to run the show.
Yeah, and that's the public access side. People coming in to use the facility and do their own programming, taking equipment out. There's the educational access side, which is us going out to working with schools, covering school board meetings, working with parks departments and libraries to offer both youth and adult educational opportunities. And then there's the government access side, which is a great deal of what we do, which is select board meetings, all these municipal meetings. We are talking on the Friday before town meeting. So on Tuesday, we will be here starting 7:30 live with our town meeting election results. So there's a lot of content there as well.
Right. And so, the beauty of it is it's local people local things.
Yep.
And if I know when I started Vermont Treasures, I think that we got a call and one lady was so happy that I was going through different parts of Vermont because she couldn't get out of the house easily anymore. And it made her feel like she still knew what was going on in the community.
Right. And I think in particular, in that sense, our meeting coverage, the connection that we provide to our local governments for people who can't get out to their select board meeting, who aren't able because of work or because of their limitations otherwise to be at those meetings, to have that transparency and to have that link to local government and schools, I think is very important.
Yeah, people need to stay involved.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So thank you. So now I understand some of these fundings are being threatened or might be taken away. Can you explain a little bit what's going on now and how it might affect us?
Yeah, there are a few things going on. There's one, there is what we've always known is going to happen, which is a drop-off in cable subscribers.
Right.
People are going to other forms of content delivery. They're Roku or any number of streaming apps that they're paying for. We've expected that. In Vermont, it's a little bit more gradual than the national trend because we have an older population who are not going to give up cable as easily. In fact, at CATV, in our service area, 8 towns, from summer 2017 to 18, we actually saw an increase by about 200 subscribers. So that's certainly not the trend.
Sure.
So there's that. That's something we can prepare for and deal with gradually. There were some changes to the GAAP rules, generally accepted accounting principles, at the end of 2017, which allowed cable operators to treat some services differently and not apply them to the fee that we receive. So around the state, there are 25 access centers in Vermont. Around the state, we saw in 2018 about a $500,000, $500,000 shortfall over the funding we would have otherwise received, and that's going to be the norm going forward. So
Sure.
at LCATV, we made some adjustments in our budgeting last year, but it didn't have a huge impact at some smaller centers. That translates to services that they could provide, and this was a completely voluntary thing that the cable operators in Vermont, only Comcast, did as far as their accounting. The big thing that we're really concerned about is some rulemaking on the FCC level. There's a proposed rule right now before the commission that would seek to take some obligations that have been in kind. So before I mentioned that the cable operator has this obligation to provide access in exchange for use of public rights-of-way. There's this whole other bucket of services that cable operators are required to provide as well. We consider those in kind. There's no money changing hands for those. Those include our channel capacity. We run 3 channels here at LCATV.
Yep.
Free or low-cost cable service to schools and libraries, our ability to go live from our town hall or our school library, something like that. So all these things that have traditionally been in kind and that we believe are designated in kind by the Cable Act of 1984, the Commission is arguing that those are subject to the fees that are provided to access television and should be subtracted from those fees. So what that translates to is that a cable operator could go to an access television station and say, oh, you have 3 channels. Those cost $20,000 a year each. So we're going to take $60,000 from your funding. There's an estimate going around that for a lot of centers across the country, it could mean a 30 to 50% decrease in operating funding were this rule to go through. So that's the broad stroke of what is happening and what we've been working on for a few months now.
Right. On top of all the little fees you see going away every year, now it's a big chunk.
Now it's a big thing, yeah.
And I know smaller stations probably have, how many people do you have here to keep running this station?
We have 5 full-time and currently 7 part-time employees.
Yeah, plus all the people that you let
Plus
kind of
all
come
the
in
volunteers.
and do their
Yeah,
thing, and the
absolutely.
volunteers that go in video. So what does this type of cut mean? Does it mean just cutting, say, hey, no more fund producers, we're only going to do town meetings? Or does it also mean that it could translate to you having less, people that have put in years here?
Yeah, that's what we're trying to figure out. That's my board of directors who supervise this operation, and I will be figuring that out in the months to come. Is what does it look like in 2020 if we have, say, 40% less funding? I think it'll mean a cut in some of our services. Yeah. It'll mean probably fees for service, whereas we had none before. I hope it doesn't cut staffing, but I can't
No one can
guarantee that.
I mean, that's a
Yeah.
big chunk of change for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. And I should say that we have absolutely no idea of the timeline of this action. It could be a few months before the FCC issues an order. It could be years. It's completely at their pleasure. We expect, anticipate, and depend upon the fact that once it's issued, when and if it's issued, it will be litigated. So there will be a court process and that sort of thing.
But you're working in that environment every day.
Right.
It makes for a different feel, right?
It does. There's a lot of uncertainty, and in a lot of ways it would be better to know that this is the timeline and to prepare for that, but we just don't know at this point. Yeah.
Right. So what type of meetings have you had to go to with all this going on? What does that...
But I've been trying to educate locally as much as we can. We have a statewide membership organization called the Vermont Access Network, or VAN. I currently have the pleasure, or I don't know if that's a right word, of serving as the president of that organization.
Yeah.
So that's been a lot of outreach to educate, especially our legislators, about what's going on. Last week on February 20th, we had a legislative day, VAN Legislative Day, at the State House. We were there talking to legislators, testifying before some committees. We're working toward trying to get a legislative summer study committee organized and funded, which would kind of hopefully look at some alternative funding and structure to what we do, at least in Vermont. It's not going to help the rest of the access community around the country, but to kind of see if there's a way to maintain these sorts of services and centers no matter what happens on a federal front. So it's been a lot of work with the legislature and that sort of thing. We also have a workshop. We're sort of governed by the Public Utility Commission, and we have a workshop scheduled later this month with them, the Public Service Board, and we hope some cable operators to kind of sit down at the table and talk about these issues and see what we can start working out there.
Now, how many stations just in Vermont around, roughly?
There are 25 access centers, which is more per capita than anywhere else in the country. And there are, I believe, 81 channels. Is that right? I have it somewhere. Yeah, 81 channels, 67 standard definition, and 14 high definition.
Wow. And you guys just went to high, right? You were revamped a couple years ago now?
We are completely HD until we get to the cable system. So we send out an HD signal, it gets down converted to SD because we don't have HD channels yet here, unfortunately.
Right. Now, I have a lot of people that will say, oh, I can't watch Vermont Treasures because I'm not on cable, but it's also, we have a website.
It's all in HD on the website. Yeah. So, we just launched an updated website at the beginning of 2018, I want to say. And it's all of our current content is in HD on the website. Pretty much everything LCATV and our volunteers produces goes up there for people to view on demand.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I watch most. I have cable, but that's where I watch most of mine because I live in South Burlington. So Burlington does carry the show, but not as regularly.
Right.
But I have caught it on TV. It was kind of cool.
Cool.
So moving forward, I produce a show here, and my concern is, you may not have the luxury of coming in and doing that, and that beautiful creativity, or it may resort in you having to pay a fee maybe to do that.
Right. Yeah.
And so my question to you is, what can a producer of a show do, and or the public do to help this? Is there anything we can do moving forward to help this situation?
Well, yeah, and I don't want to turn this into a partisan discussion, because what we're finding out, really, certainly on the state level, is there is just overwhelming support for what we do from any party we've talked to in the Vermont State House. If you're a legislator who has an access center in your community, you've been in that door, you know what we do, and you appreciate it. But the House of Representatives on our national level did flip majority parties last election. Our representative, Peter Welch, is on a subcommittee of the House that is in a position to put some pressure on the FCC, political pressure. So we are encouraging people to contact both Senators Sanders and Leahy, but certainly Representative Welch, about their concerns about this FCC rulemaking. We actually have a petition that's been organized by our national membership organization, the Alliance for Community Media. It's a website called Petition to Congress. You can go on there, fill out. They already have some sample language, or you can add your own language. Okay. You can fill out your contact information. It will automatically send letters to Senators Sanders, Leahy, and Representative Welch, so you don't have to do anything else. And we encourage as many people as possible to do that. The more that these legislators hear that this is important to Vermont residents, the more that they are likely to try to put pressure on the FCC to reconsider their actions. Yeah.
Nice. So if you like Vermont treasures, you enjoy seeing Vermont treasures, go out, and I think Rebecca might have showed how to get into that. Again, how do they?
It's kind of a long URL, and I'm sorry I don't have it in front of me, but it's a website called Petition to Congress. The easiest thing to do would be to contact LCATV at info@lcatv.org, or call us at 862-5724, and I can certainly send you all the information that you need to do that, or sign up for our e-newsletter, and that information will be in there for the next few months.
Okay. And you don't, so you were just talking, not to get into politics, but you don't think this election Tuesday and who gets brought in is going to change how hard people are fighting for?
Town meeting's not going to have much of a, this is in the federal level now, so that's where things are going to play out. And like I said, we have a great deal of support on the state level, and that's terrific, and I think that'll be very helpful. But it's all what's going on right now on the federal level and the makeup of the FCC, which is leaning toward favorability toward cable operators and not the public good necessarily.
Not the big man.
Yeah.
So this is actually a federal thing. So even though we have support on the state level, we can't change what happens. It's not state to state. So Vermont couldn't say, "Oh, we're going to do this," and someone else, a different state, say.
I mean, there are things that we might be able to do in Vermont, and that's what we're exploring with this potential summer study committee and this regulatory workshop that we have coming up. So we are trying to see what protections we can get on a statewide level, but pardon the pun, federal law often trumps state law. So we have that challenge, but we're trying to keep it alive. I would like to keep my job, so I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that happens and to keep this place open as long as possible.
Great. So Kevin, just briefly, the amount of time you've had some employees here. How long have you worked here?
I have been here, and our production manager, Buddy Mayer, have been here 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have quite a few people that have been on staff, probably 10 years or more, I would say.
Rebecca Padula, who's directing right now, has been here 16 years or so. 16 years, yeah.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Yep.
She always does a great job.
Yeah.
So those are people that have had these jobs a long time, and this is clearly to some degree where your passion lies, not just in keeping a job, but I come in and am always greeted.
Yeah,
With a
do what you love what you do.
Yeah, do more of what you love more of what you do.
Yeah, it's not a job that I come in and collect a paycheck. It's a job that I come in and I believe in our mission, and I believe that we're helping our communities, and would very much like to keep that going as long as we possibly can.
Yeah, beautiful. So, any final thoughts that you can think of? That you'd like to add or say to get out and write a little note.
Yeah,
right?
Write a little note.
It won't take a lot of time.
And if you're motivated to do so, in addition to writing that note to especially Representative Welch, call his office, write a letter, make sure that he knows that this is an issue that you want to see addressed in a positive manner, and that you feel strongly that this is a service that you want to see continue in Vermont. Yeah.
And I would love for all of you to go out, check out lcatv.org, and just go check out Vermont Treasures is a great show to check out. But check out any of the shows that are out there. If you don't have cable and haven't had a chance to see it, and you're hearing us now, go ahead and look and see if what's going on out there is good stuff. And if it is, we're talking the whole state being affected. Let's get out there and get some letters in.
And come visit us and see what we do here, and see if it's something that you think is valuable to keep going.
Yeah, take an interest, especially if you haven't heard about it and you've been around all those years, and maybe you're just hearing it because you've been on, not been on cable.
Right.
Check it out. Come see Kevin, Rebecca. They're
Please.
Great people. You want to do a show?
It's pretty simple.
Yeah, you could start right here. Tell me what you love to do in Vermont, your dreams and your passions, and you can sit where Kevin is today and chat with me, and from there, you might start your own show.
Sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit, and it's you. Like I said, it's all you. Use your creativity. Who knows? Maybe we'll have a reality TV show out of this. You never know.
We need more of those.
So this is Rachel Hamilton on Vermont Treasures, and I appreciate, Kevin, you spending time with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I said, I've been hearing a lot about this, and it makes me nervous because right now I come in and I'm pretty freewheeling, and I have help from some great people.
Yep.
So let's keep it going. Let's keep everybody employed in Vermont and having fun.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Do more of what you love more of what you do. This is Rachel Hamilton of Vermont Treasures saying, have a great day.
The only map I need is the one drawn on my heart. Don't need to know where it ends, just where it starts.